Man, there was a time when there was a bunch of horror games all getting released on Wii. I really don't know why, but within 2 years we had The Grudge, Calling, and even a Silent Hill game. Amongst these games was a title called Cursed Mountain. Anybody remember the Nintendo channel on the Wii? Yeah, it was this application you could download from the Wii Shop channel that lets you view trailers and info on upcoming games. Nintendo kinda stopped using it when they found out what YouTube was, but yeah, I remember seeing Cursed Mountain up on there with a couple of developer interviews and some behind-the-scenes stuff. Games always felt like such a big deal as a kid when you got to see the people actually making it. But yeah, instead of having a typical horror game setting like a school or a town, it followed a mountain climber as he scales Chomolonzo, a mountain in the Himalayas. On this journey, he tries to survive the harsh elements, isolated on a cold, dangerous mountain, crawling with the ghosts of dead climbers and Tibetan monks. While the idea was pretty unique, it ended up releasing to very lukewarm reception, and because of which, I never bothered checking it out back then. You know, like a lot of third-party stuff on Wii, it just ended up fading into obscurity, but since I'm doing a lot of horror games on Wii this year, I knew this had to be one of the ones that I checked out. Developed by Sproing. I've never heard of them. Oh man, check out this title screen. It is a JPEG of a monster's face. They didn't even try. The game follows a mountain climber named Eric Simmons. His brother, Frank Simmons, was hired by an expedition organizer named Bennett to find and retrieve a rare ancient artifact called the Terma that's hidden somewhere up on the mountain. Eric's little brother ended up getting lost on the mountain, and nobody knows if he's alive or not, so Eric goes up after him in attempt of rescue. Eric's journey will take him through several Himalayan villages, caverns, and up to the top of the cursed mountain itself. Like many survival horror games, it plays in third person. If you've ever played the Wii version of Resident Evil 4 or Silent Hill Shattered Memories, the game plays fairly similarly. We've got the over-the-shoulder tank controls, which is actually a little annoying for this game just because there's no quick turnaround button for some reason. All you really do is explore the area. You'll look around for notes, diary entries, and occasionally keys. There's not really a whole lot to it, honestly. Areas just aren't really that densely packed. You kind of just stroll through them all. An old radio. All I hear is static? Wow, where'd that... What? There's not really that much reason to explore in this game. The only item that you can find other than the notes are the incense sticks, which are used to fill up your health, but other than that, there's really nothing to look for. You don't use guns or anything in this game, so there's no rationing of ammo or supplies or anything. Instead, you'll just find tons and tons of these incense sticks. I had so many that I didn't even know what to do with them. You'll accumulate all of the notes in your inventory as you find them. There's a lot of extra reading material to go along with the plot, but I kinda didn't really care about it enough to actually go through much of it. Instead of using guns, you'll fend off ghosts with these ancient Tibetan artifacts that you bind to an ice pick so you can use it as sort of a magical staff or something. Now that I say that out loud, that sounds really dumb. But no, like that's what you do, is you fend off these ghosts with your magic wand. You'll hold down the C button to lock yourself into place, allowing you to aim the staff with the Wii remote. You'll use the B button to fire projectiles at the ghosts, and once they're weak enough, you can grab them with the A button to do a quick time event to finish them off. Oh, these quick time events are the bane of my existence. Don't even get me started, dude. It's a Wii game, right? So, of course, it just has to be motion-based quick time events. It'll give you a prompt and you'll have to swing either the Wii remote or the nunchuck in the corresponding direction. The diagonal swings aren't a problem. It's when the game wants you to shove forward that it rarely responds correctly. I could never quite get a feel for this. Sometimes it works, but other times it just doesn't. The nunchuck one is what gave me the most trouble, and that really is infuriating. A battle with a group of ghosts can go either well or absolutely horribly, depending on whether or not the game just feels like working. These are so bad. I honestly wonder if they even play tested this, because this is not functional. There's a bunch of different artifacts you can bind to your pickaxe to change the type of projectile you'll fire from your staff. At first, you have the standard semi-frequent firing blast, but you'll unlock others like a stronger beam with a lower firing rate, a more explosive spread shot, or a grapple beam that'll take enemies down instantly at the expense of it being a little harder to land a hit with. You can change these to your liking from the pause screen. Some are better for certain situations than others, so you'll find yourself switching between them occasionally. But yeah, that's pretty much all you do in this game. Walk through environments and stop to shoot some ghosts every now and then. It all really feels like a watered down version of Resident Evil 4, even right down to having to stop to shoot. Instead of tweaking the style of gameplay to complement the game's unique premise, enormous, it only takes it and makes it more cumbersome. I mean, can you imagine if you had to do a motion control QuickTime event every time you landed a headshot? No, that would be stupid and annoying and not fun, and that's exactly what this game does. It completely lacks the sound design and proper game feel to make every exercised ghost feel satisfying. I mean, back to RE4 for example, landing those shots and blowing heads off. Man, it feels good because of the sound, the graphics, the splatter, the instant feedback. But here it's like, okay, I'm gonna swing my arms around and, did that? Please. Anytime the game does try to incorporate some sort of new mechanic, it always ends up being something that's either tedious or frustrating. For example, there's a part when you have to sneak up on these ghosts to get audio recordings of them, but instead of programming actual stealth mechanics and having to approach them slowly or something, they just threw a bunch of invisible swords in the ground and said, how about you just gotta not touch the swords? So, instead of a proper stealth segment, we have this cluttered mess of stopping, using the staff to see the swords, taking 2 steps, using the staff again, taking 2 steps, using the staff again, shit, I walked into one. There's another area where you have to navigate a large maze of these swords, but instead of making the ghost disappear, these ones kill you, so it's even more annoying to get through. You're probably wondering if there's even any mountain climbing in this game, and yeah, there is. There's a couple of segments where you have to climb up a wall. You just kind of climb up. Nothing really more to it than that. Well, other than the hilariously bad animation for horizontal climbing, no, dude, what are you doing? There's other actions you can do too, like sidling on walls. Huh? One thing I don't really like about this game is sometimes you're supposed to go places where it doesn't look like you can go. Yeah, like right here, you have to walk up. You just walk up. It does not look like you can walk up. It's where you go. The game's also got some real weird cutscenes. They're almost comic book styled, I guess. They never run on engine. Every single one is this weird, infamous style image sequence. It has such a disconnect with the physical 3D space the characters are in. Like, you walk up to this door, and when the cutscene starts, it doesn't even look like we're in the same building anymore. I don't know, the style is just so weird and far removed from the gameplay, it doesn't feel like these scenes are really happening with this same game. But honestly though, that could have been intentional. The game does prominently feature themes of isolation and going through this feat so physically demanding and stressful that the human mind starts reacting strangely. Are these ghosts even real, or are they simply hallucinations conjured up by our own mind? Seeing bodies of other dead climbers reminding us of our own brittle mortality. Eric even mentions in the cutscenes that he's having trouble understanding people, like everyone's mumbling, as if he's entered this fever dream-like state where nothing makes sense.
You fight spirit now. Stop it, man. Fight spirit and die.
Oh yeah, that's just the cliche village elder thing, oh, foolish man, need get artifact. Just out of curiosity, has anybody on the planet ever sounded like that while speaking English, or is that just one of those things where, we just gotta stop pretending that all foreign cultures sound like cavemen? The game actually has a lot of really cool Buddhist and Tibetan mythology in it. The boss fights are all with these mountain deities, like this Birdman guy. The game even deals with this Buddhist afterlife state called the Bardo, a 2-week journey of the soul where on the first week you get to meet all of the peaceful deities, and during the second week you have to get past all of the wrathful deities. Eric thinks his brother may have used the term to enter the Bardo as a last-ditch effort to avoid dying on the mountain. It's all actually pretty cool, but cool content is kinda worthless if the game itself isn't very fun, and that's what really kills Cursed Mountain. It's just kinda boring. All you really do is walk around. There's not much real exploration, and when you do have encounters, the unresponsive controls just make them feel like obnoxious obstacles instead of something engaging or fun. The only time I thought the game was really interesting was near the end when you're at such a high altitude that you're using oxygen, and you really start to lose it. It was the only time of the game I would see things that weren't really there and think, oh, okay, maybe this is really it this time. It's also the only part that really felt like a survival game, since you have to collect oxygen tanks to assure that you don't suffocate. But even then, it's not very long before the game gets way too generous with them, and you'll have even more oxygen than you did incense sticks. And lastly, the only thing left to talk about is horror, and of course, like on any video where I bring it up at the very end, this game just isn't scary. I mean, the idea of being isolated on a tall mountain, battling the elements for survival could be nail-biting intense, and yeah, it really can be, but Cursed Mountain makes no effort to really bring that idea to life. There is harsh weather that greatly reduces visibility, but there is not a shred of effort put into using this low visibility to create any scary moments. Instead, you'll just trek through these boring villages, fight off lame, boring ghosts, and crawl up this big, boring mountain. If you want to play an actually good game with a Himalayan setting, I would recommend Uncharted 2. It's not a horror game by any means, but it's an actually fun game that has a similar setting. So if you're itching to get some sort of Tibetan or Himalayan mountain fix from a game, get it from this one. Don't get it from Cursed Mountain. Yeah, I don't know, I just can't really see myself recommending this game to people. I just found it so freaking boring. And yeah, while it does have a handful of unique ideas, none of them are executed particularly well. I think what it really boils down to is RE4's gameplay, but stripped away of anything that made it mechanically interesting or fun. So yeah, I guess out of all of the horror games on Wii I've reviewed, Cursed Mountain definitely isn't the worst, but it's easily the most forgettable.